Okay, I think it's time. Hello. Hi, how's it going, everyone? It's been a week. I'm actually here for my second week in a row, and it feels awesome. So today, what I'm going to be trying to do is continue working on the Fallen Divinity model. And in this case today, what I'm going to be working on are the dogs, and potentially the model itself, but I will be completely honest with you guys, I have been more than a little afraid to get this guy started, simply because it's a big, intimidating model, and, you know, sometimes that can be just a wee bit scary. So, we're gonna go ahead and try and give this guy a shot and see what we can come up with. See if I can do anything fun or interesting, or at least get enough courage to kind of take a dive into the water and then start adjusting from there, because the only way to continue to move forward is to continue moving forward, right? To get started. So that's the goal for today. The other goal for today is to not screw up too badly, I guess, and also to try and keep this schedule consistent, because now, nice. Boss music for the big boss model. I don't know why this one intimidates me so much, but like, the fact that it's big, it's expensive, this guy wants it as a display quality model, and like, I know I can do all these things because I've done them before, but it's a very nice model, and I'm really scared I'm gonna mess it up. Though once again, I know I'm not. This person trusts me, the client trusts me, and they trust me because they've seen my other work, so they know my other work is good, but it just feels so much bigger and grander, you know what I mean? Like, because of how this model is built and how much more, like, delicately the character is designed, it doesn't have the same weight behind it, the same substance behind it as the Jotnar, the Giants, did. So it just feels so much, oh my god! Hey, Darkvolt, good to see you! Yes, I'm going to be moving forward. I'm kind of hemming and hawing right now and taking up time by scraping off some mold lines from an orc boy that was given to me. But I promise, I am going to move forward today. I don't have a whole lot of choices. I don't have a whole lot of options. I gotta do this because they're paying me really good money to do this. It's gonna turn out great, and I refuse to believe in any other way because I know how to correct mistakes. But yeah, I'm a little nervous. How are you doing, Darkvolt? It's been a minute. It feels like it's been a minute. I appreciate that you've been pretty regular on the Discord, even though I have not. So thank you. I thank you very much for keeping a presence and always being there, because you've been awesome to, you know, chat with every now and again when we have time. But yeah, okay. We got this. We got this. I got this. I got this. We're gonna move forward. So first, we're gonna get rid of the starting soon text. I still love this picture. You know, it makes me incredibly happy. Rip in peace, Angus. You were an awesome doggo, and I still love you every day. But yeah, okay, goodbye. Let's see. We're gonna go to the main camera where you can see snippets of the doggo, and we're gonna go to the to-do list, which is gonna be the Fallen Divinity. You're working on Art Fight. That sounds like a lot of fun. I've got some. I mentioned it on the Discord, kind of. I think I mentioned it on the Discord. I had like a full-on. I had to have mentioned it on the Discord. Oh. Did I not mention it on the Discord? Wait a minute. I could have sworn I mentioned it on the Discord. Oh. Oh, no, I did. Okay, I mentioned it on the Discord. I was about to have a little amount of panic. I was like, wait a minute. So, the Space Wolf thing, basically. That, yeah, I put in, there's this new place I'm going to right now. It's a new local game store, and I've talked about it a little bit on the Discord, that they're a lovely group of people, and they're really big into trying to make it more of a hobby hangout spot where you can play casual games and just kind of feel safe and feel comfortable to play in, and I think that's awesome. And I posted that, you know, I'm looking to get some Space Marine models, and so with that being the case, would anyone want some commission work done in exchange for it in their favor? And the owner of the game store was like, yes, actually, and I knew I had to ask you as soon as I saw that post, because I really wanted to jump on this. I've got over 2,000 points of Space Wolves that are just unassembled, brand new in box, and I want them to be a display army and a rental army at the store. And could you paint those? I'll give you the models. And I just about had a panic attack because, you know, little old me pushing fingers together anxiously, is like, oh, you want me to represent your store with the models that I'm going to paint? And he said yes. So I've got about 1,400 points of Space Wolves right here, and I did the math. It's like $800 US, which I think equates out to, what is it, like 600 euros? 7? I don't know. I don't know the conversion rate. But anyway, so I've been working my way through that. He doesn't need them to be like display quality. He doesn't need them to be, you know, competition worthy. Just good enough that people will look at them and want to play with those models. And so I've been putting the Combat Patrol together, and it's been really cool. So in your case, Darkbolt, I mentioned that the Space Wolf Terminator models are absolutely boss. They are some of the coolest Space Marine models out there. And the pictures for them do them justice, but they don't do them justice. Like, one moment. Like, this right here is the leader sergeant. Look at him. Look at how cool this guy looks. Just look at how good this model is. And I kind of spec'd him out so he matched the box art. But I mean, he's just so freaking cool. Yeah, the huge shoulder pelt is great. Honestly, it makes him look so cool. Like, I want to buy a box of these myself, just so I can paint these, because it's such a look. He's got all the pelts, and he's got the knife, and he's got the... It looks so good. He's got the huge axe. He looks like a boss character, right? And I love the long beards. I think the long beards add something. And, one moment. Like this guy. This guy I also tried to match the what you call it. Sorry, my brain just potatoed on me again. Tried to get to match the box. I mean, look at him. He just there's so much to him. He's so substantial. He's got that humongous minigun, which has all of those cool, like, charms on it to make sure it works better. And then he's got this giant power fist. He's just these are such cool looking friggin' models. I love these models. And they all look good, even the ones that are just like holding axe and bolter. They look fantastic. I really like these guys. I also got to put together Arjack, and like with the flingy hammer. And again, just another incredible looking model. These are so good. These are so good. The designers deserve all the raises in the world for these. Even the battle captain. Like, the Battle Captain is one of my favorite models. He's got that really awesome dynamic pose. He actually has kind of the Space Marine Captain pose from Armageddon. But again, he's festooned in all of this very on-theme Space Wolf stuff. And it looks so good. I cannot wait to paint these. And I think I lost it again, which is actually going to drive me nuts, but I asked if I could keep one of the bits, and they said, yeah, go for it. There's a specific bit that, yeah, I'm almost positive I lost it again. When I get my second set of Assault Terminators, because that's part of the deal, there's a very specific Space Wolf head that I kept. He's missing an eye, and he's got a really long beard, so he just has this incredible look about him, and I'm pretty sure I lost him, and now I'm sad. I just can't win for losing sometimes. Also, I sold that one box, the Eldritch Raiders campaign box that I got, and I bought the lady. And I'm so happy I bought the lady, because this model by itself is so damn cool. I can't wait to paint the truck and paint the rest of her on the truck, because oh my goodness, she is the reason I'm getting into Imperial Guard. Like, I'm enjoying the rest of my Imperial Guard stuff, but she is the reason. This model, this crazy, powerful woman is the reason why I'm getting into Imperial Guard. I'm so excited to do so. And I also built my Blade Guard veterans already. Like, these awesome Blade Guard veterans, they make me happy. Like, look at these guys. I'm gonna have 6 of them, and they're gonna be with my Space Marine Captain, and they're gonna be a murder box. It's gonna be amazing. But yeah, I don't know where that... I'm gonna have to find that head again later. I hope I didn't accidentally blow it off of the table when I was cleaning earlier. That would make me real sad, because then I'd have to find it. I don't want to do that. But anyway, okay. Back to what I was doing. Back to what I was supposed to be doing. Oh man, I'm almost positive I blew the darn thing off it. Okay, so I've got reference art for the doggos, and I think... Uh-oh, what have you found for me? Yes, open the link. Oh, yeah! Oh, thank you for that. Oh, that makes me so very happy. Oh, how have you read my mind, Dark Volt? Oh my god. I do that all the time. I think about the little frog boy doing that all the time. Oh, that made me so happy. Oh, that made me so happy. Oh, that is the emote of my dreams. Oh my god, I've got to commission you to do emotes for... Oh my god. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Oh man, that brought a tear to my eyes. He's gonna go back over here because... Oh, that's so good. I need to go back to this other image. Okay, where's the other image? That one? Uh-oh, it's gone. No? It actually went away. That sucks. Okay, so here's what I'm... Here's what I'm gonna do. I actually pulled this image up in Honeyview because I need a reference image. I can't just draw this darn thing. I can't just do this. Where'd the frickin' dog? There's the dog. Okay, it's not a dog right now. It's a piece of marble. But unlock for a second and show, and we've got some cool texturing. But that's because right here is the Fallen Divinity. There she is in all of her glory. And what's going to happen is I'll get to her eventually, but right now I wanted to zoom in on the dog so I could get an idea of kind of the mange and the grossness of them. So, so yeah, that's going to go right here, and I'm going to use that as kind of an art reference so that I can do better, so I can do better. But oh man, oh that took me completely off balance. But yeah, so right now I've kind of got them base coated with a darker blue and a lighter blue, and the plan is going to be to see if I can work them down a little bit and do some highlights and whatnot. I might keep this and just go lighter and then hit them with a wash to darken them all down, but I'm really not sure. I'm kind of at a loss because these are such cool models and I'm really scared of ruining them. But then I just got to remember their models and I can't really ruin them. So what I'm going to do is actually work my way up. I'm going to work my way up from these colors, and can't wait to show QB that picture. What I'm working with to begin with is dark blue. Dark blue has kind of been an MVP for me because it's just such a good versatile color. It works kind of like, it's actually not quite dark enough to be black, but it does work as a shade color. And while it isn't quite as dark as that key art we have, I think it's going to be a good place to start. So I'm going to get some of that. And I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of, I think in this case, it's going to be a little bit of gray. And I'm going to start working in some of the highlights. So I have this neutral gray, actually. And that's just going to work to see if I can start working on some highlights and getting some spots of him looking a little brighter. And we'll see how this goes. Because, like I said, I'm very anxious about starting this. And, like, I don't want to say color matching, but getting it close enough, you know? But I guess something to think about is that at no point was I told, like, you need to follow the box art to a T. And at no point was I told that it needs to be a certain aesthetic. The guy just, dark blue makes a good darkness nighttime color, will not be neutral gray. Yeah, exactly. That was my thinking, at least. So I'm glad that someone with far better art experience than I was able to confirm that and kind of back me up on that. But yeah, I was not given any marching orders on this beyond, can you paint this? And I gave them the answer of yes. And when I told them how much I wanted, they apparently didn't even balk at it. They just kind of said, okay. and they handed the model over to my liaison. So yeah, that was a lot of what happened there. Was the guy just heard how much it was and was like, yep, I'll pay that amount. And then I kind of had a mild freak out because I forgot that I had been painting some of the larger models for the first client, the reference, and I had initially charged him like $50, $55 for the first giant I painted because he just wanted it to tabletop standard, and that's about how much that giant cost. But he started having me paint these Artisan Series giants, and those ones were quite a bit more expensive. They're like $150, but I told him, I'm not charging you $150. They're still the same size, and given that they're so much more detailed, they're probably actually going to go quicker since you just want tabletop standard. And so he got those other mountain giants and whatnot that I painted at a fairly inexpensive price of like $55 a piece. But when I told him to tell the potential client about my my estimate number, I just told him 2 times the price of the box for display, and he went, yeah, the display price is fine. So the Fallen Divinity is like a $150 model, and yeah, he's paying me like $300+ because he also paid me to assemble it. So I went, oops, and then he went, okay, I don't care. And so yeah, that's the story of how I'm getting paid an incredible amount of money to paint this model for someone. And so that means I've got to do a good job. And so that is what the plan is to try and do a really good job so that he looks at this and goes, I did not waste my money. This is amazing. This guy is incredible. And I'm going to recommend him to all my friends. And that'll set the new standard for my pricing. It was incredibly flattering. Because I know I undercharge, and I do so because while I know I'm a good painter, I don't think I'm that good a painter. Though apparently a client disagreed, so who am I to argue with someone who wants to give me money, right? The dude just straight up told me, I don't care what you think, you're worth this amount of money. Because yeah, my liaison straight up told me he didn't flinch, he just, done. Okay, cool. So yeah, that couldn't have worked out better on my end. Now, if I recall right, yeah, these guys have a lot of like mangy exposed bits. So all I'm trying to do is hit some of the highlight spots, because most of him is going to end up being covered, like most of the big flat spots on him are going to be end up covered in that like decayed, rotted bit. Wish I was in a financial where I could look at a price like that, right? Me too. I wish I was in a financial situation where someone could be like, I'll paint your 8-inch model for, or I'll pay you $450 to paint an 8-inch model. That just hurts my brain to think about, but this guy was just like, no, it's a display model. I want it to be as beautiful as possible. And so I went, word. But yeah, like for the Space Wolves army I'm painting, I haggled with the guy a little bit because he didn't want to pay. It's not that he didn't want to pay a whole lot, he just couldn't go above a certain limit. And he was offering to give me about $250 worth of models. And when I did the math, this is a like $1,000 project, and I was perfectly okay with accepting just the models and some paint supplies. And he was like, yeah, I can do that easy. So that's what he did. He gave me some texture paints and some other paints of my choice, and the models, and we kept it at that. So that way, neither of us really feel cheated. I feel like I got the supplies I needed, and I got the models I need to finish my Imperial Fists, and he's going to get a really cool Space Wolf display army. And it's going to be great. Now, one thing that I always struggle with when painting like dark blues and trying to highlight them is I don't want to wash them out and turn them gray like you were talking about. So I'm trying to think what would be the right color to go up with, and I want to think it's yellow, because I have a really good, like, it's called Dorn Yellow, but it's basically an ice yellow. And I really like using that as kind of the highlight color to bring out the brightness in a blue.
but I'm not sure if that's the right color to use in this situation, because they're just going to be tiny highlights across the dog. You know what I mean? What's going to do most of the work, I think, for the colors are going to be the places where there are bigger pops of color, like on the open wounds and on his mouth. So I don't really need to do a whole lot to this. I just need to put like highlights where it would most affect, or like do the most impact, you know what I mean? So I think like around the rib cage, on some of these raised haunches. So yeah, that's another part where I'm struggling. I think that's why I was struggling to look at this once I airbrushed him, was where would I put the highlights on this guy? And I really do think, and then like what color would I make the highlights? Because I was trying to go for box art, and when I wasn't quite hitting it, I was looking at it like, man, this doesn't look like I thought it was gonna. But yeah, I think it'll be okay. I think I'm getting an idea. The more I kind of paint him and mess with him, the more I'm kind of seeing the vision. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's going to be okay. And I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to mix in that yellow. That yellow I was afraid of doing. But first, no, I'm going to go ahead and use him, because this is all on video. I can look back at this later and I can decide whether or not these were good ideas, and I can get the formula from watching the video over. Highlight, look at the reference image, see dark blue is pretty much shaded with black, some of the lights look more gray, so a light yellow would neutralize the blue into more of a gray tone. Cool. So this is what I'm using. Like I said, it's kind of an ice yellow, but it's Games Workshop's Citadel Color Dorn yellow. And I couldn't find ice yellow in Vallejo at the time. I didn't want to spend that much, so I just went to a local store and bought the Dorn yellow. And it's kind of been my substitute ice yellow ever since. And I don't use a lot of it at any given time. But I think it's been super helpful with getting that. So what I initially did was I had the blue, I mixed in a little bit of gray to get the highlights that I've just put on him. And I guess into that, I want to mix just a whisper of, oh, that's the good color. Yeah, just a whisper of Dorn yellow. Army Painter's got a good ice yellow. I've been meaning to try out Army Painter a little more now that they've, you know, quote unquote got better with their Fanatics line. I am pretty curious how much better their stuff has gotten, because their Fanatics line looks like exactly what I would have wanted 3 or 4 years ago, but at that point I was already pretty deep into Vallejo. But the fact that they have like the paint standard names for the colors, the fact that they have that really awesome triad system going on, it's like they're doing everything right. They're just doing it right a little too late for my desires. But there's nothing stopping me from just buying individual paints that I want. So I think I might try their ice yellow on your recommendation when the Dorn yellow starts running out. Okay, and again, since I'm going up in volume, I don't need to make the highlights... Uh-oh, you got me. I don't need to make the highlights as distinct and as impactful on this guy as the last one I did. So I've got to be careful with that, because one thing I have a bad habit of doing is covering the entire previous layer with the new layer, and then it stops looking like a highlight and just kind of becomes the new color. Buying new paints, individual paints, is how you started with Fanatics. And I mean, you seem to like them. You're recommending them, so they've got to be pretty darn good. And like I said, I've seen bits and bobs about them, and I haven't really heard bad about them. The worst I've heard about them is people being like, they're okay. And if the worst you can say about an Army Painter line is they're okay, I think that means they're doing pretty good, yeah? Because there are people that really didn't like their war paints, and people that still really don't like other paints. Like, I know Pro Acryl's kind of divisive, because Pro Acryl is very wet and has some pretty terrible water dropper or dropper bottle issue. The ice yellow would make a good highlight for exposed flesh red parts to go either exposed bone or highlights. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, I think the ice yellow is going to be the central highlight for this guy, and we'll see how that turns out. Can I also say that, yeah, I think I've talked about this before, but Yakuza Gaiden, Like a Dragon Gaiden, Man Who Erased His Name, might be one of the most disappointing, not bad games I've ever played. Because the game itself wasn't bad, but it just really failed to deliver on the concept that it was selling, and that was kind of whack. Because the idea was, you know, Kiryu is now a secret agent and he has all sorts of gadgets and he gets to be a secret agent. But 90% of the game is you walking around being immediately recognized and then getting into just your traditional fights. And the whole thing about him working with the Daidoji, he never really goes in disguise in a way that's impactful to the game because he's immediately figured out. I don't know, it just felt like it was trying to be James Bond, but it forgot that it was James Bond and just became Jackie Chan midway through. And I don't think that's a terrible thing, because Yakuza has a competent enough combat system, but when the key premise is he's a secret agent, and he's not really, it kind of kills the vibe of what they were going for. And then it just becomes a Yakuza game with a silly plot. And then, unfortunately, it had the fairly unfortunate effect of introducing the Daidoji to the storyline and becoming an awful plot contrivance for like every other game since. Because, and I really don't care what anyone else says about it, the Daidoji are bad, and I hate that they're in the game series. And I hate the fact that they've kind of made the games worse because of it. And I wish Yokoyama had never brought them in, because it's silly and dumb. It is cute that Kiryu keeps forgetting, but then strongly insisting to keep up his code. Yes, that is well done and very Kiryu coded. Is he becomes Kiryu really strongly to defend someone or something, and then goes, "Oh wait, yeah, I'm undercover. Yeah, yes, I am Joryu. I am not this. Who is this Kiryu? I have never heard of Kiryu." What I did like, and I did kind of really appreciate, was how he was handled in a lot of ways in 8. Though someone I follow, an artist I follow, actually a fairly important artist, I'm really happy to see that she's doing well, because I knew her from a webcomic called Manly Men Doing Manly Things back in the early 2010s. She's apparently like the animation director now on the King of the Hill reboot, and that's huge. That's a huge career jump for her, and I'm pretty sure that she's been quietly chugging away and working really hard since I stopped paying attention to her. Yeah, right, her name is Kelly Turnbull, and she's fucking amazing on a lot of things, but she's one of the animation directors on, if not the animation director, I'm forgetting, on the King of the Hill reboot, which has been called like the best reboot of the decade. But yeah, she got into Yakuza because her partner was playing a lot of it, and she definitely has interesting perspectives on the game, due both to her strong penchant for storytelling and her extreme dislike of some of the decisions they've made, but it's always couched in things that make sense. Like, she loved, and I mean loved, Hamazaki from Yakuza 3, and so she hates the fact that he was face scanned to be a celebrity, because it got rid of what made him so fascinating. Because he was a big, hulking, really ugly dude who wore very tacky, like, fashion, and you expect to have to fight this guy, and for it to be like a fight like with oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name, Shimano, but you never fight him because the dude's a fucking coward. And so the fact that he's this big hulking dude who looks like he would, you know, tear down parts of the building to get to you, and he's nothing but a little chicken shit, he's all show, he's all glitz, all glam, all show, was fascinating to her. And then they replaced him with a guy who looked like a rat. So he went from being a Hulk that was a slimy, sniveling sleazebag to being a little dude who's a slimy sleazebag, sniveling sleazebag, you know? And she really took issue with the fact that Kiryu is so hero worshipped in the last game, in 8, which I guess makes sense because it's his legacy. He is a living legend, so characters are going to respond to him that way. But the way he talks to them always comes across as like, you don't understand social cues. And like the bit where he goes back to the Tojo clan hideout, and Sun-Hee, who's supposed to be this incredibly intelligent, incredibly shrewd woman, notices him looking at the flowers and comments on it. He's like, yeah, I'm just looking for a place for cover in case they start shooting at us. And it's like, that is a very odd thing to say to someone. But it does end up paying off and whatnot. So I do think it's cute because it's like the man's been through so much trauma that he has to be this kind of reflexively defensive. But yeah, I definitely get why it would come across as a little weird. Okay, so what I think is going to happen is the blends I'm doing ain't blending, and that's because I've kind of lost the plot. But what I am going to do is I'm probably going to hit this over with another airbrush of the dark blue to act as like a unifying color. And that should bring a lot of this back down. Right now, it is becoming the highlights I'm looking for, but I just haven't done very much blending for them back in. And I actually don't mind that. It's giving him a lot more personality. But I think it's going to have to be kind of knocked back down, just a smidgen. But yeah, I really liked Yakuza 8. I thought the ending was a bit kind of meh, and the end boss was kind of meh, and that whole thing, but I really liked Yakuza 8. I thought it was a fun... If it had been the swan song of the game series, I would have been fine with that. And in some ways it really was. I feel kind of bad for what's happening with what happened with Gang of Dragon. I don't know how much you've been keeping up on that. What happened with Stranger Than Heaven. Both of those made me really sad. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen. I'm going to decide later. I'm just going to get the highlights on here, get them all bright, look at it, and then go, yeah, do I need to knock it down or not? It's kind of like that thing I keep saying, trust the ugly phase, right? Because all I'm doing right now... And here's the thing, and I think this is kind of funny. I always remember watching videos of extremely skilled painters just knocking highlights onto the model. And I remember thinking years ago, like, how do you know where all this shit goes? How are you just so instinctively that good? And a big part of it really was that they just learned. Over periods of time, they just learned. They just studied and they practiced. And their eyes began to see highlights everywhere. And so they knew where to go and what to do. And in some cases, like me, they're just kind of making it up as they go along and correcting as they realize it looks wrong. And I think that's neat. And the recent controversies does not make me want to get into the Like a Dragon series. Yeah. Admittedly, I'm still very happy with the experiences that I had with the older games. Yakuza 0 remains one of my favorite games of all time. I love the music from them. I think those are universally good. And I'm happy that I can keep that stuff. Like, I'm actually planning on getting a handheld emulator at some point. It's basically a 3DS that can play up to Switch games because it's got a very powerful processor in it. And my goal is to take a bunch of stuff that I already have and just kind of put it on there, because I'm kind of not super into a lot of modern games, and I don't have much interest in playing them. So I figure if I have a portable console that has all the old games that I want to play on it, that would just be a better fit for my liking. Okay, honestly, I ain't mad at this. Again, not quite what I was looking for, but it's giving... I made this too wet. It's giving me somewhere to work off of, like something to branch off of and be like, okay, just a little nip here, a tuck there. And that's probably more important to me right now than actually getting it right on my first try. But yeah, like my computer, for example, the one that I'm using as a stream machine, I bought as a gaming computer for a couple of higher end games. And I've kind of realized that I don't have the time to play them, and I don't really want to play them a whole lot. But I do want to play, like, old school Pokemon. And I do want to play some of the other old games. I want to play Yakuza. I want to play... There's an old fighting game that I love called Urban Reign, and it's a PlayStation 2 game that's never been remade, never been ported. And it's like, I want to play that game. I want to just be able to pull that game out and play it. So an emulator that can do all of that, it's just like, yeah, I think that's what I want. I think I want to do that. I want an emulator that I can just pull out when I'm bored and play some of the games from my childhood, and it be small and compact enough and all that fun stuff. And yeah, that's kind of what this is. This is purely exploration. I'm just kind of hitting what I think would look good with these highlights. and working off of there. I mean, something that's not helping also is that I'm using a brush that, even though it's got a fairly thin tip, it's not super precise. So I'm getting kind of blotchy looking highlights that, again, will blend out nicely when I hit this with something else. But I can't say I'm too mad at this. I think it's looking pretty okay. So I'm going to stop there on this guy, and I'm actually going to move on to the other one, because he's very bright, and that's actually what I want, because when I dull these down a little bit with either a wash or a blend or whatever else you need to do, I think it's going to turn out okay.
What I do need to do is his muzzle. His muzzle has not been done enough.
And I think, honestly, that, and of course I'm patting myself on the back here, that not attaching these to the base was a good idea, because it's letting me explore them a lot more. So, Kalu Kalay. Okay.
But yeah, I'd recommend not giving RGG your money right now.
I also, apparently there was a big old snafu about Gang of Dragon 2, which also looked amazing, because it had Don Lee, Ma Dong-suk, playing the main in that, and it was being made by Nagoshi, and it looked like it was going to be good fun, and then NetEase pulled the plug on it because they were claiming that it needed more money, too much more money, that they weren't willing to supply it. So, unfortunately, that was a possibly interesting franchise that we're probably not going to see the light of day. But, you know, just more of that video game industry. The entire thing's kind of underwater right now, ain't it? Everything's being built... Ooh, yes, the good song. Everything's being built on speculation and hoping that AI does what it's supposed to do. And I couldn't be more sick of it. And I'm actually really frustrated because in the city that I'm in, how recoup costs when canceling game. Yeah, right. It's kind of silly, and I think my best guess is like they assume they're trying to cut further losses because they don't think it'll make back the money that they're putting into it. But it's like it's that same problem that I see with like Netflix and whatnot, where people aren't watching their shows, or there's been a decrease in it because they don't think the shows are going to last. They're like, why am I going to put forth this emotional weight, this emotional effort, if you're just going to cancel the show after a season because it didn't pull the numbers you were hoping? And so the audience is becoming more skeptical that studios are going to let things grow and develop. And I completely get it, and I agree with them. You know, why am I going to sink time and effort into Dead End? Oh my god, why am I forgetting the name of it? It was such a good show. Let's just use Dungeon Meshi as an example. Why am I going to watch Delicious in Dungeon if I know you're going to cancel it after one season? Obviously that didn't happen because it was wildly successful, but could you imagine if a show like that floundered the first season? We'd miss out on all that stuff. Or like Breaking Bad was one that floundered. It got very poor ratings the first season. It wasn't until Netflix came about and people were able to marathon it or binge watch it, and then, you know, that's where, and it was allowed to grow, that it became one of the best Western shows ever, you know? And you see it all over the place. A lot of companies, a lot of people, they don't succeed the first time. They aren't wildly successful. And the company allows them to continue trying because they see the promise of it. And I know I'm really preaching to the choir here, because I'm pretty sure you feel the same way about a lot of it. But like Demon Souls, Bloodborne, all those games. If Demon Souls had not been allowed to breathe and had been canceled because it was of middling success, or you know, that series, we would never have gotten Dark Souls. The whole Souls-like genre wouldn't exist because Demon Souls only sold moderately well. In fact, it sold like garbage in Japan, apparently. What brought it fame was streamers playing it and talking about how hard it was. And so it gained a second life in the West. That's, guess why they're not widely seen, because they're a new property that people have not yet discovered. Exactly, right? The big numbers start at best season 2. Yeah, shows need to grow. Another great example, and one that I'm very fond of, is BoJack Horseman. Which I'm pretty sure I've talked about, but like the first season of BoJack Horseman was kind of written off as just being a typical talking animals, edgy cartoon. And it was not rated well, because most reviewers only saw the first 6 episodes, which
are laying the foundation of the show,
and are kind of uneven compared to where it ends up going. And the show really blossoms into itself in the second season. And it became one of the best rated shows on Netflix and one of their legacy shows because of how transformative it was to adult animation. And it's just like, we would never have gotten that in today's environment. Netflix would never have allowed that show to grow and develop the way it did because the first season got such poor returns. And that would have sucked. Because, yeah, I don't know if you've seen BoJack Horseman, but it's easily one of my favorite shows at showing an incredibly damaged person who is still very believable in their motivations, in their trauma, and it does so in a remarkably good way. Like, it doesn't lionize him. He's not the hero. He is the main character, you know what I mean? And it makes me sad that there's so many people out there who think characters like him and Walter White and whatnot are the heroes. But I really like that show, and I showed it to QB, who was very reticent to watch it, or very hesitant to watch it, because she hates shows where assholes get sympathy for being assholes. You know, like, oh, well, they're only that way because XYZ, and so we just gotta put up with it. And it's like, no, that's a terrible lesson. And that's not what they do in BoJack. One of the biggest things about BoJack, one of the biggest credos moving forward with the show is that actions have consequences. And I feel like that brought the show to new levels of mature conversation, mature and relatively healthy conversation to have about people who are like that, and people who have self-destructive tendencies or come from toxic, broken homes and all that stuff. Watch Centaur World that got canceled? Oh my god. Oh, don't talk to me about Centaur World. That makes me so sad. I've actually never seen it. I've only seen bits, but it looked incredible. I've seen what happened with Owl House. You researched indie studios like Glitch. I adored Digital Circus, and your Happy Game Overs got picked up. Yeah, well, I love it. I love it. It's not my favorite show in the world. I've actually just started watching through Digital Circus. I watched the first episode when it came out, and I was telling QB, this might not be a show for you right now because the world is overwhelming, and that first episode is basically that, how to deal with a world that's overwhelming, and you don't need that kind of stress right now. But I decided to pick it back up after seeing how successful and praised it was, and I definitely get it. The show is incredibly well put together, more so than I thought after the first couple of episodes, and I'm happy it had a chance to breathe, and I'm happy it had a chance to finish out its run. I got kind of sad when I heard how badly the fandom kind of ruined, well, not ruined, but really messed with the creator of the show, and how they made her so anxious and depressed about it that she wants nothing more to do with Amazing Digital Circus. She's just happy it's done, and she doesn't have to think about it anymore. And it's like, guys, what did you do? And I hope that they're in a better place now, and I hope that they're happy, because they made an incredible work of art. I would like to ignore the praise and watch it for what it is. Yeah, that is true. Just get your own opinions on it, because we don't need other people's opinions on something to decide whether we enjoy it, right? Because you can listen to other people and get their feedback, and they might be able to provide extra depth, but if you like something and someone says, yeah, well, no, it's shit, or I don't like it because X, that shouldn't change your opinion unless you actually agree with them, right? We say they cannot control fans. Yeah, all you can do is put your work out there and leave it to be enjoyed, because, I mean, you know as well as I do that there were just as many people that were deeply affected in incredibly positive ways by Amazing Digital Circus, as more so than awful people who took their enjoyment of the show too far and made it everyone else's problem. Oh man, his shoulder's all kinds of messed up. But yeah, I'm really happy that it got made. I'm hoping that Lackadaisy gets like its full setup going. I think Iron Circus Comics is still working on it, but I haven't heard anything about it in years now. That one tickled me because Iron Circus Comics is the largest black-owned comic book publisher in the United States, and QB has always held them in very high esteem, and one of their goals when they were still more heavily into creating art and going to conventions to sell art was to be published by Iron Circus Comics, because QB has also written comics and would love to be published by them. And we got really close to meeting Spike Troutman, the head of Iron Circus Comics, but the weekend that they were supposed to be at the Chicago Comics Convention, C2E2, Lackadaisy dropped and did amazing numbers for an indie film or an indie animation on YouTube. And so they obviously became very, very busy fielding conference calls, dealing with this, that, and the other, right? And so they weren't there. Which was fine, because we still had a lot of fun in Chicago. I really like that city a lot, actually, and wouldn't mind going back. But like right after that dropped, and right after it had its own moment of notoriety, the Amazing Digital Circus came out and completely blasted everyone else out of the water. And I will admit, there's a little bit of jealousy on my part that it took the shine off of Lackadaisy and the work that Iron Circus Comics did, but that jealousy is completely tempered by the fact that all of the animations that came out around that time had incredible reception to them, because they were high quality, they were interesting, they were amazing, and all it did was open the door for more animations like that to become a thing. Because I understand that there is like an attention economy and only so many people can see so many things, but the fact that Amazing Digital Circus came out didn't diminish the success that Lackadaisy had, right? So yeah, it was a good time. Like I said, I really like Chicago. I want to go back. There's a lot of places I want to go, but Chicago was really freaking cool. We only saw part of it though, because we were mainly at the convention hall and back. We didn't stay for very long. We actually drove all the way there and all the way back. And I'm not sure specifically where you live. I don't think you've ever told me, and you definitely don't have to. But I know that in a lot of Europe, driving distances are treated differently than they are in the United States. And QB has a friend who's originally from Ireland, and she's told me that, yeah, exactly. The Digital Circus is going to found a bunch of yeah, exactly. I didn't realize Glitch was helping with Lackadaisy. That's pretty freaking cool. But it's so cool to me that indie animation is kind of getting a revival, because the market is there and the passion to do so is there. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, she had friends who were from Ireland, and she went and visited them one time while they were in college. While she was in college, and their parents were like, "Are you sure you want to drive home tonight? Because it's late and it's a long drive, and you're more than welcome to stay the evening." And she was like, "No, I'll be fine. I've made this drive before." And it was an hour and a half drive, which I guess to her friend's parents just seemed like an impossibly long time to be in the car. And that's not. That's a drive I've made many times, over and over and over again. The distance from my parents' house to my college was more than that. So the idea that was a drive that she was willing to make overnight just kind of baffled her friend's parents. And cars are a waste anyway. I hate cars. I wish we had better public transportation in the United States. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, going to Chicago. That was, I think, a 13-hour drive. And the way there, we did it all in one sitting. And on the way back, since it was late, we actually ended up getting a motel, which was a bad idea, but it was better than driving that late at night. But yeah, it's not uncommon for Americans to make exorbitantly long drives, because our culture has been set up that cars are the main mode of transportation, and everything else is fucking expensive. For me, when I was sitting on the train visiting my grandma to the other side of the city, that sounds like a really good time, honestly. I remember when I was in college, they had a public transit system that was free to the students. If you were a student at the college, you had free public transportation. And I honestly remember liking it a lot and wishing it was more of a thing. And as I've gotten older, that feeling's only gotten bigger. And the city that I live in now does have public transportation. They have buses, but they don't have great locations. And so actually, like, walking to the bus stop and standing there, that you have to cross a lot of awful traffic to do so. And to be honest, it kind of sucks. And my heart goes out to everyone who has to use it, because while the buses themselves are very nice, the having to wait at terrible bus stops is awful. And I guess the one silver lining is that the city knows this and has been doing their best to try and rectify this. We have a whole department who is doing everything they can to try and improve and revitalize the public transportation of the city. And I think that's super cool. And I hope that it pays out, because the city I live in is not particularly big. I joke that everything's a 15-minute drive, because it kind of is. But having viable public transportation is would raise my esteem for the city so much. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I've grown up in an era where a lot of things in Europe are romanticized, but I very jealously look over at the bus system and the train systems in Europe, and I wish that that we had that stuff over here, at least better than what we have now. And it looks like we're starting to move that way, so kudos to us, I suppose. But yeah, it's just a thing of, like, I just wish we had better public transportation, and that's the end of that. Now, I will say, what has been working out really well for me is my career. I think around the time you first started following me, I was a school teacher, and I had to stop due to health reasons. And then I started working at a Best Buy as, like, a Geek Squad, as technical support. And that led to me getting hired at the city as part of their service desk. And that was 2 years ago. And yeah, it feels weird not dreading going to my job every morning still. And I'm doing pretty well in it. And it looks like over the next couple years, I've basically lined myself up to get multiple promotions that will be followed after the school days, but during Geek Squad. That makes sense, because that's about the time that I really started considering starting streaming. But yeah, I've basically set myself up so that I'm in line for multiple promotions over the next couple years, as long as I don't start floundering. So the financial instability that QB and I have been kind of facing over the last three years or so is finally going to start receding, and our situation is just going to get better. And so that's really cool, and that makes me really happy. But anyway, yeah, unfortunately there hasn't been much to talk about in terms of this model, because I'm just kind of doing the same thing. I'm going back over some of the spots that I highlighted with this lighter blue, and just hitting it with, like, an even lighter highlight of just the blue and the Dorn yellow. And it's kind of making things a little too bright right now, but like I said, that can be knocked down and blended out a little bit later. I'm not super worried about that. Now, one thing else that I want to do, that I've been meaning to try and do, but I've obviously not had time to, or not been able to, is I want to get back to playing Look Outside on stream. I don't know if you've caught any of those videos, but Look Outside's a really good game, and I really like it, and I would love to play more of it on stream, because it's not a very well-known game, and I think it deserves more recognition, because Francois Coulombe did an amazing job making it. And it's basically done in production. He's just kind of doing bug fixes now, but he's not doing any more major patches or anything to add more content. So it's just like, might as well play it now. And it's not a super long game. I believe it's a game that you can beat in maybe 10 to 15 hours. And so I feel like that's a perfect game for me to stream, because my normal stream time's like 2 to 4, or, you know, hour and a half to 2 hours. So that means I should have been able to have it beaten by now, but just schedule, time, illnesses have all gotten in the way. But thankfully, it just means I can pick it back up and start it up again. I'll just have to remember where the heck I was. Though they put that great save system where they have a character kind of remind you of the last things you did. So that should work out for me fine. Okay, now let's get some of that dilapidated hair. I do know that I'm technically playing... I do hope the turbulence... But yep, that's kind of what's happening right now. The turbulent times are starting to clear, and things are getting better. Oh yeah, something I didn't mention with the game store is that because they're more interested in being a hobby hangout, being a place where you can kind of hobby in peace and meet people and have a community, they're right now running painting classes that are being led by various volunteers, and what you call it, they want to see what kind of interest there is, and if there's enough, they would like to start allowing or asking people to volunteer, painters to volunteer to, like, just be there once a week and to either, you know, lead classes on content they care about, or to answer questions, you know, that kind of thing. Just kind of be an on-call type professor type deal, or mentor. And I basically volunteered. I said, hell yeah, I'd love to do that. So there's a pretty good chance that over the next month or so, I'm going to be spending more time at that game store, just kind of being a guy who's there, being a regular. And I was more encouraged to do so because I took QB with me to pick up the army, and she noticed how they had pretty sparse advertising, pretty sparse branding, and she was like, if you guys are looking for more merchandise, like buttons and t-shirts and whatnot, I have experience making that. So even yeah, dedicated expert on the line. And so they were like, yeah, actually, we were looking. We were starting to put out feelers. And so there's a chance that she's also going to help and contribute to their success and their image. And that just makes me happy, because I like when third spaces do well, because yeah, there's been a massive decrease in the amount of third spaces in the United States in particular. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but it's made it so that people are having a harder time finding places to hang out outside of the house that isn't work. And so the idea that this place wants to be one, and we can help it be one, just feels really cool. It also helps because I found out that the other local game store that I was going to like play Warhammer, they're not a good place anymore, and that made me sad. One of the former employees there is now volunteering / working with the new place, and it's because he found out that the other store owner absolutely hates Warhammer and hates the fact that he has to sell it, and kind of looks down on it. And which, you know, fine, whatever, you don't have to love everything you sell, but the fact that he actively disdained it was kind of like, okay. And he was also apparently reticent to, or not reticent, just absolutely refused to take seriously some guy who came in wearing a shirt that said, the things I love most are blonde and illegal. And it's like, that's disgusting. Kids go here. And so wearing a shirt that basically implies what that implied, it was like, that's not cool. And so the employee that I was talking to, he said he notified the owner of the store, who then turned to his young daughter and pointed to the shirt and was like, does that offend you? And since she shook her head, he just kind of looked back at the employee and shrugged. And it's like, but, you know, you host Pokemon leagues here. You probably shouldn't allow people to walk around with those shirts around children. A place that's supposed to be for children. So he was like, oh, this is becoming one of those places. And so he, between needing more time to himself and just not liking the vibes, he left. And I guess he really liked the vibes with this other guy at this new place and is now volunteering a lot of time there. So I'm taking that as a pretty good metric of I can trust this place. So yeah, there's that. And I'm just happy I finally found a local game store that I feel like I don't feel uncomfortable in, because I've always felt uncomfortable in that other one. And I don't know if it was just because I was younger and I had nerves and I was new to the community, but I didn't feel comfortable whenever I went in there, and it made me not want to be there. With this place, it's like, I don't want to leave. I'm having too much fun socializing and talking to people and hanging out. And it sounded like QB had some of that same feeling too, the last time she was there with me. So hopefully that means both of us will be spending more time there and helping build that community. Yeah, it really is. Even if it's all mental, sometimes that's what you need, right? Okay. I think what's probably going to happen with this lad is I'm going to go back over him when I can really focus down a little more on some of this, because I know I'm hitting some of the high spots, and it kind of looks like I'm hitting him with highlighter, and that's fine for what it is, but I feel like I want to really go back and touch up a lot of this, because he's coming across very bright, and I suppose that's okay because the other one came across very bright, and all that means is I'll have a lot to knock back down, and that's okay. I didn't get the other one's tail. Let's go ahead and get his tail. So yeah, it just seems like, and I think, I don't know if I also mentioned this, but QB, who has also been kind of struggling to find employment that she feels safe and comfortable in, also found something. She's been subbing at at one of the county high schools and or middle schools, and she's become so well liked there that they've just started asking her, like, have you thought about teaching? Have you thought about getting into teaching? And she found out that there was going to be an instructional aide position there, which is like a teacher's aide, and they apparently paid pretty well, and she got the job because of the high praise of multiple people on the staff and her interview with the new administration going well. So she's about to have a job where she's making good money, and my job is only going to start making better money. So it's just like everything is, we're finally seeing the end of that tunnel, and that's super neato. Okay, so what color do I need to... His eyes are kind of reddish with the orange. Okay, so what I think I want to do, all of these weepy wounds, all of these kind of growth bits, they have like a red undertone to them. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these sores and I'm going to paint them initially red and kind of work my way back to a lighter, pinker, fleshier tone. You know what I mean? I think that's the play. I think that's where I want to go with this, so that's what I'm going to do. And of course, because I don't understand how colors work, I'm just going to be using bold Purell Red, because I use bold Purell Red for everything. But it is because it's a vibrant, beautiful red, and it does tend to look pretty darn good on a lot of different things. So we're going to stick with that. And in terms of where it goes, I'm not exactly sure. I guess I'm just going to have to find places to make him have angry open wounds. I mean, that sounds like a good idea. Matter of fact, what I might end up doing is I might end up pulling up the image itself. Wait, nope. Okay, I think I see it. So there's a lot of little holes there. So maybe if I kind of focus around where the holes are, that's probably the best place to hit them. So like in this little area. And I mean, I guess the best part again is that it's all going to even out once I get access to some... There are words in there, I'm just forgetting what they are. I can put them wherever I want and they'll look pretty okay, is my best guess. You know what I mean? Because they're all going to eventually get another coat on them, they're all eventually going to kind of blend in a little better. And even though there are official open sores on the model, it's not going to hurt them if they don't match up entirely. Oh, that looks painful. I just realized what I put in there. It's like, oh, that looks painful. Oh, sweetie, is you okay?
That looks extremely painful.
And again, I guess the best part about this is that it is going to get knocked back down. This is just kind of giving me a baseline footprint of where the open wound will be. So I suppose there is that. Okay. Well, I think I did just blorp too much bold Pyrrole red on here. I think wherever I see... There's some parts on here where... I don't know if you can see it, where the texture looks a little bit like exposed fleshy. I think as long as I keep it in there and don't overdo it, I think that might be the play. Just all the places where it looks like the fur and the skin is peeled away, and all we're left with is like the bare flesh underneath. I think that might be the play for a lot of this. I got the base of his neck. Right here, there's like a big glob of it. It just looks like an exposed shoulder. And I mean, again, you can see he's got his whole rib cage exposed. It's going to be fine. It'll look fine. It's just going to be a little gross. And then that's going to go in like so. And yeah, I think this was a good idea. Okay, and this entire shoulder looks grody, but I don't think his entire shoulder is exposed. Well, you know what? I think it is now. His entire shoulder is going to be exposed. I'm just going to go ahead and take all that back down. Yeah, see, this is where I both love and hate big models, because painting them can be incredibly fun, but at the same time, if they've got a lot of minute details like this, it can be really scary, because you're just like, I don't want to mess up any part of it. And you're just so terrified of doing so. So what I think I'm going to do is around there as well. Mixing in more, the ICL is going to turn the red more skin tone, so blending should be fine. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Oh yeah, his tongue. Yeah, I've got an actual flesh tone in there that I'm going to use, and ice yellow is going to be the highlight, so I think you're dead on. Oh, I don't think you're dead on. You know what you're talking about. It is going to kind of dull it down and bring it more in line with a flesh tone, and that's going to help a lot with readability. And I don't really know if you've noticed, but I changed the camera angle again. I moved my camera above my head. And what I hoped it did was kind of got rid of when I lean in. You can kind of see it in the corner. My head would kind of get in the way when I was looking at doing fine details. And I feel like this is giving me a much better angle to kind of show off the model and paint it without getting too intrusive with where I am in the shot. So hopefully that's doing its job. Okay, oh my goodness. I will say something about this dog in particular. He looks like he's wounded, and that just makes me sad. I mean, he is clearly wounded. He's missing part of his ribs. But, like, the way he's moving, he's supposed to be mid-run. But to me, he's just kind of reading like his back legs hurt. And I hope that when I pose him properly, that will kind of change that. Because otherwise, he just looks like a sad doggo. And that makes me a sad humano. Okay, yeah, like he's limping, right? Again, he's supposed to look mangy. He's supposed to look gross. That's the point. He's following a fallen angel, so he's not meant to look heroic or even ferocious, just kind of intimidating and scary. Yeah, I think adding those splashes of color really help. Oh yeah, his eyes. His eyes, based on that picture, they start with like a red framing, and then they have the yellow highlights. So I'm gonna see if I can do this and not fudge it up too badly. Am I the shot? Just a little bit, but that's fine. Yeah, exactly. That's my thought, is that these dogs were reanimated. Like, not to give you another money sink, but if you've ever checked out, I strongly recommend you check out Bellum Games' Conquest, because they have some super cool models. And I'm not really sure how much you're interested in, like, the fantasy stuff, because I know you like 40K, And, I mean, you do like Dark Angels, so you clearly like the knightly aesthetic. But I don't know how much of that carries over to liking fantasy. Because I know some people are very particular about the mediums they enjoy, the aesthetics. But, I found myself initially being kind of like, oh, okay. But then as I started looking at it more, it made me realize, no, I'm actually pretty into the StarCraft game looks wild. It looks very good. From what I've heard, it's easy to play, too. Like, in a way that Warhammer is not. Though I have heard 11th edition Warhammer is very good. I've heard a lot of people talking about how the new rules make a lot of sense, they make the game more approachable. So, I am kind of excited for that. Okay, I don't like how this is attacking the eye. So I'm going to take this one out. This is a Monument Hobbies Pro Synthetic Brush. Apparently it was made in Germany, which I think is pretty cool. You want to paint you a Protoss army? My life for ire, buddy. I wish I paid more attention to the campaign in the first game. Because I never played... I take that back. I played a little bit of the second. But only the Terran campaign. When I found out it was going to be 3 games, I gave up because that was too much and too long. So, from what I understand, good games. Okay. Antaro Adun, Antaro Gasdar, Antaro Zeratul. Yes! Very much so. I'm actually going to be right back. I have to use the bathroom. Do I have a be right back? I don't have a be right back, so I'm going to put this guy up here, and I'm going to disappear for a minute. I played a lot of the first StarCraft as a child. I didn't play... God, I thought I muted it. Hopefully... Yeah. No, I did not mute it, but that's fine. I played a lot of the first game as a child. And I had friends who played it a lot. So we did a lot of multiplayer. And thought that was freaking awesome. And then when the second game came out, it was so long afterwards that kind of all my friends who were into it had moved on, and we didn't really talk much anymore. Which sucked, but that's fine. And so yeah, the draw to the second game just wasn't there for me. Okay, I feel like this entire haunch needs to be... because that just looks like a huge piece of exposed meat. So yeah, that second game didn't hit the same way as the first game did, even though it was clearly incredibly polished and clearly well made. It didn't do it for me the same way the first game did, you know? Because I played the heck out of StarCraft and Brood War. Those things were my jam in, God, that's a phrase I never thought I'd use. When I was in, like, middle school and high school. And yeah, from what I've seen and understand, like, the new minis are incredible. And, they garnered a lot of attention. But I haven't heard anything about it since, and admittedly that's because I don't go too deep into wargame circles. But, like, the 3 discords that I'm a part of that are part of the local game stores, they tend to have a lot of the same people, but I haven't heard them talking about it very much. And I wonder if it's just because all they've really done was a beta test with like a launch box, and that's it, so they're just kind of waiting for more information to come out. And I also kind of wonder how long a game like that can be supported because, you know, unlike Warhammer, StarCraft really isn't a living entity in the same way. Offers the models, but they're perpetually sold out. I'll take that as about as good a sign as you can get. If you've got a place selling models and there are no models because people keep buying them, I don't see the downside. You know, it's clearly a game that people are interested in if that's the case, and that's really cool. Okay, he doesn't have as many gross bits on them. They're all kind of concentrated. Which is fine, it just makes him look a little less dynamic, I think. But then again, I don't, this is the one, kind of. I'm trying to figure out which ones are, which one is in the picture, and I think it's this one. Okay, so yeah, he doesn't have as much. Or no, he's not the one, he's the other one that's on the other side. That's okay. I'll just have to make him some. The downside is that you want... Yeah, I know, right? I know that, that like, Warhammer has that a lot, where there's a lot of people who want a model and they never seem to friggin' have it. I hope that gets resolved. I would love to hear that people can buy it. But yeah, I mean, from what it did launch with a lot of fanfare, so... My hope is that you're able to get them, and you're able to paint some cool shit, and you can show us the cool shit that you paint on the Discord. And that'll be great. And it'll be fine. It'll be wonderful. But yeah, I'll be honest, I mean, yeah, Protoss Army especially, that does sound really good. I played Terran a lot when I was playing. And I think it was just because I liked the Space Marine, which makes it unsurprising that I became a Space Marine fan. I don't know. Like, I have strong memories of playing the game, and playing with friends and whatnot, but in terms of units that actually stuck with me, I think it was the Protoss units that I thought were really friggin' cool. And, like the Zealot with his twin energy blades and all that kind of stuff. And, the Carrier with the multiple drones that I could throw out. It just all sounded and looked so cool. Like I said, didn't get very far with the second game. Wish I did, because I felt like there was a really cool thing there. And like I said, I am legitimately wondering how they're going to translate that game into a miniature war game with legs, because it did only have, what, 4 games total come out for it, and so how are they going to keep building and expanding it? I guess they're just going to release certain numbers of units at a time. Finally get your Legiones Imperialis box, and that's very cool. That's another game I wanted to get into, but between not having any friends to play it and not having any money, it's just like, man. But that'd be another really fun one to get into. The one I gotta say, I do still kind of regret the fact that I never got the Age of Darkness box, because that starter box had everything I wanted in it. I love the Terminator models. I really love the Mark 6 Marines. I loved both the Praetors. There was no. I wanted the Land Raider. There was nothing wrong with that box. That box was perfect, and I know it was perfect because it was sold out everywhere for a long time, and people still wanted it long after it was no longer the new hotness. So they clearly did a good job with it. Okay. Yeah, this guy is definitely a lot more effed up than the other one, and it shows more in some of the bitty bobs. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really go ahead and let him have it, and then come back in later and blend in some of this grossness. Because, yeah, they're... Oh my god! Oh my god, I've been seeing more of these, and I want them to all friggin' die. I got a ban evader in here with a gross name. They're gonna get banned. And I'm gonna delete this message if I can. Not published in chat, very cool. Can I do more than ban this guy? Can I, like... Yeah, I'm blocking you too. Eat it. I'm thankful you didn't see that. It was filtered as being a potential ban evasion, and it very much was. It was someone that was doing one of those AI streamers, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's another thing. Thank you for reminding me. Warn, timeout, not published in chat. I click on the name. Report. I have been reporting these guys, so, yeah. Scam, spam, bots. Advertising. I kept advertising AI viewers. Reports. Especially after that whole issue I had with like getting my identity stolen and stuff, or getting hacked. It's like I don't want to deal with any of you, and I hope that you all have the largest inconveniences of your lives. Okay, so I wonder if I go straight from red to... Actually, going straight from the red to the ice yellow makes a pretty nice fleshy tone. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to look, so I'm just going to kind of schmagiggle it on here, and we'll see how that looks highlight-wise. It looks disgusting. Positive. Oh, that looks upsetting. And I mean, you just saw me. I was just kind of wiggling my fingers or the brush around, but that looks deeply upsetting. That looks like the kind of thing that I'd tell someone to get checked. So, yay? I guess? Same thing here. We're gonna go ahead and give you just streaks of this stuff all over the place. Enjoy your open sores. Yeah, this is where this tactic of just kind of like edge highlighting the entire inside is working really well, because this color is light enough and needs to be translucent enough that it's just kind of making everything look angry and infected. So kudos to you for the awesome color theory, and kudos to me for being able to make it work. Speaking of kudos to me, I need to read Caiaphas Cain like yesterday. I watched Adeptus Ridiculous's podcast about Caiaphas Cain, and I had always heard Caiaphas Cain was a really funny book series, and it wasn't until listening to them talk about him that I realized how funny that book series is. Because it's basically Blackadder. And I don't know if you've ever seen Blackadder, but Blackadder is one of my favorite comedies. That is true. I already did pick out the light yellow, and you just guided me the right way. But yeah, Caiaphas Cain's books seem like they're a laugh riot, and so I need to go ahead and pick those things out and watch and read those. And I'm actually looking forward to it because the local game store has a Caiaphas Cain book, which means I can just grab it from there and give them money and be able to read Caiaphas Cain. And once again, I was very tickled to find out that If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device was not particularly far off with their characterization of him. Because they did like a 5-minute short about Caiaphas Cain, and it just felt so silly and over the top that it's like, this has to be an exaggeration of what the books are actually like. And then I started listening to that podcast, and it's like, no, they were dead on. This is exactly what Caiaphas Cain is like. They nailed it in one. Good job, guys. Pack it up. Let's go home. Oh, that looks angy. And again, I mean that in a good way. This is giving open wound vibes, which is exactly what we're going for. So everything's going according to plan. Everything is going according to Keikaku. Keikaku means plan. Okay. Same thing in here. Just highlighting it a little bit. And again, this is all going to get knocked down because I do plan... Uh-oh, my chat disconnected. Hopefully that doesn't mean everything else disconnected. Welcome to my chat room. I'm back to my own chat. Okay, I'm really hoping that didn't disconnect the thing, because we were doing so well. We had a good thing going. I guess I'll find out if Dark Bolt's still here whenever it reconnects. Okay. The light yellow also makes a great color for sickly liquids. Yeah, right, because it ends up looking really jaundiced. Welcome back, by the way. Because it, like, kicked me out of my chat room and then was like, welcome back to your chat room. So all I could assume was that I got disconnected in some weird way. But yeah, the light yellow, definitely a good overall color that I should be using in more things, and I'm slowly learning to use in more things. But it definitely gives off that effect of yeah, yellowy, it looks pussy, it looks gross, it looks feverish. Kind of like this huge open wound now that is getting increasingly yellow. Not really to my chagrin, more like to my delight. Because it's exactly that same type of gross that I'm looking for. It's making the I don't know if you've ever seen like open wound meat, but it always has that really weird bright color, and this is really giving it. So it's working. This looks horrifying in the best of ways, and I'm both very unhappy because this looks disgusting, and very happy because this looks disgusting. And it's something that I was trying to go for with my Death Guard, was I wanted them to look so gross that people wouldn't want to touch the models. And I never really got there, and I kind of shied away from it in favor of just making them really vibrant. And I like the path I'm going with them now. But yes, this song, please. I'm really liking how this yellow is contrasting against it and making it look increasingly gross. And see, this is what I was talking about earlier. I would never have found this out if I didn't experiment a little bit and play around. And the only way that was going to happen is if I started painting tonight. You never know what you got until you start messing around with stuff. That's not yellow enough. Get me the biggest bird seed bell that you've got. No, that's too big. Okay, so... yeah, there we go. And you can see now that I'm starting to highlight specifics, but you can plan your head until you pick out the brush models remain gray. Exactly. Exactly. And you can see now that I'm starting to pick out certain spots, it's really starting to focus that highlight of the blood loss, and it's actually upsetting because I've seen open wounds that look like this, and that shoulder looks gross, and I'm really happy with that. Okay, stop spinning. There we go, buddy. Now we can make you look absolutely horrifying. Hooray. Now, what I'm probably going to do after the stream is over is I'll get some pictures of this and send it to my liaison, who will then send it to the client, because I don't actually know who the client is. I'm hoping at some point we can meet so I can gush about how cool this model is and thank him for letting me paint it. But right now it's just a matter of get the thing painted and hope they like it. Yeah, one of the things, and I've talked about this before, but one of my biggest disadvantages coming into this hobby is I don't have an artistic background. So, like, color theory and matching colors and complementary colors and having some idea of what they'll look like together, I don't have any of that. And so I've relied very heavily on instructional videos and on viewers like you who do know what they're talking about. Maybe the client is me from the future. That'd be weird. That'd be impressive, but that'd be weird. Though I will admit, this was an army I was looking at getting when I was looking at getting into this this specific game, because they're basically they're not Nurgle, they're undead, but they have a lot of the same play style of like slow and plodding and kind of elite. And it's like, I like that play style. Okay, so now it's just building up with enough ice yellow to actually come across with that sickly highlight. Hey, Mighty Yellowson, how's it going? You're building my foundation through mini paint. Yeah, exactly. That's been a big thing about this mini painting that I think has helped me a lot, is repetition. Doing it over and over and over again has given me some instincts of what looks good together and what doesn't, and is, you know, building my toolbox. But yeah, Mighty Alyssa, so I'm working on a fairly high-end commission. These dogs are part of a model called Fallen Divinity from Conquest, and this is one of the big centerpiece models for the Undead Army. And so they've got these zombie dogs, and I've been anxious to paint them because they're expensive, and this is like the artisan line, so these are all high-quality resin sculpts. And I've been kind of anxious, like, oh god, what if I screw them up? What if they don't look like the box art? Because I'm being paid a lot for this. But now that I'm working on it with Dark Volt's encouragement, I've been messing around with this guy, and I really like how he turned out, because all of his open wounds look absolutely disgusting. Yeah, you have to use them at work, but you get sweaty in them. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. My hands are sweating really bad under here. But that's okay, because you know what's not happening? The paint is not peeling off the model. And that's the worst thing for me. Because I've had that happen where I've been working really hard on this model, and he looks great, and then I move my finger against him and half his face comes off. And then I get sad. So yeah, whenever I've had to deal with a resin model, or whenever I haven't put them on a base, I tend to put on nitrile gloves and handle them with that, because it's a lot harder for my oils to corrode the paint on them, you know what I mean? Never would have thought of what, using the nitrile gloves to prevent the paint from coming off? It's something that I noticed with other painters. As with a lot of things, it's really just kind of watching a ton of people and picking up what they're doing. And the problem that I've had, and I've noticed, is that my hands get really sweaty and really oily when I paint. And then if I wipe them on the model, it dissolves it moistens and dissolves the medium, and then I'm just wiping off paint on certain spots and leaving bare gray plastic, and then I'm getting really sad with life. Okay, so all I'm doing right now is, this guy had a lot of exposed meat, and I don't remember where all of it is based off of the box art. So with Dark Volt's encouragement, I just kind of put it in wherever it looked good, and now I'm slowly building up what the exposed meat would look like, because this thing's either undead or freshly dead. So the idea of it having parts of its musculature exposed and then still kind of bleeding, well, if only they made one-sided nitrile gloves or made them breathe, right? So yeah, I'm just trying to slowly build up the grossification of this guy's open wounds. And what I'm using is just bold Purell red, which, as I've talked about before, is like my favorite color red. And I'm adding increasing amounts of ice yellow because, once again, as Master Dogvolt has stated, it kind of neutralizes the red into more of a dull pink, and that can be a really good flesh tone. That happened with less bio before I painted. I had it on the tail before gluing it on the base because I wanted to reach under it, but then I had all the red and blue paint on my fingers, so I painted over it again, and once dry, I varnished the tail specifically. Yeah, that seems like a really smart idea. One thing I have seen, especially with speed paints, is people recommending that after you do that initial layer, if you're going to do anything beyond the speed painting layer, varnish the shit out of it. Like, spray prime it, so that way anything else you do doesn't accidentally reactivate the speed paint, the contrast paint, and ruin all of the beautiful work that you've done. So yeah. Oh, at some point I'm gonna get a desk chair that doesn't roll, because when I'm really focusing in like this and I'm planting my feet, every now and then the desk chair decides to kick out from underneath me and startle me. And I do gotta say, this is just a cheap brush that I got from Michael's, which is a craft store, and if people don't know, and it was like $6 or $7, and it came to a much finer tip when I first got it, but it has been a remarkable workhorse brush for me for the past couple of months, possibly longer. But I will say I'm also notoriously rough on my brushes, and so they don't tend to last very long, which is one of the reasons why I've become kind of hesitant to spend a lot of money on brushes. Because it's like, if I spend $30 on a brush, and I ruin it in 4 months, it's like, man, I just spent $30 on a brush. I've noticed that all my reds, be Fnatic or GW, love to reactivate and wash off, so I have gotten to that bit of varnishing, stop the bleeding grid. Yeah, reds, my understanding, have that issue. Okay. Oh yeah, I guess I do got to do the tongue too. I didn't do the tongue on the last one. Say ah. I accidentally did it really good again, guys. I accidentally did it really good again. Not that I'm complaining, I'm just focusing. Okay. You look adequately upsetting. Let's go ahead and add some more yellow into this and make you look even more upsetting. Okay, so same kind of thing. And I think what's also helping is that because this brush has a relatively thin tip, I'm getting a really nice painterly look, which, with a lot of like brush scratches, and while normally I'm not too jazzed about doing that when I'm trying to get a smooth blend, what this is doing is making it look textured, right? And so that texturing is just making the musculature look more like musculature. So we've got all of that going for us while I'm painting this guy. Because with the musculature looking textured, it makes it look more like actual body meat, which is not a sentence I ever want to say again. There we go. That looks upsetting. Okay. Something else I'm finding out is I accidentally gave myself way too much red, so a lot of this is going back in the paint pot. Body meat, right? It's like there's a pro wrestler who was like a big body dude, big strong guy, and his team was a comedy team, and they started patenting the phrase tricep meat, and it's just like, man, those words don't belong together. I was so upset when he had to retire early due to injury. Like, he had a great career, and, you know, good on him for hopefully saving his money and doing well with himself, and he's now working elsewhere because he was well loved by the company. But it's just like, man, I'm so happy you got to be world champion at least once, but you deserve to have a longer career than that. Okay, same thing here. Gonna make it look like meat getting torn away. Tricep meat, yep. If you watch pro wrestling at all, that's Big E from the WWE. That's Big E. He was a huge, like, impressively built dude. I think he weighed close to 300 pounds at about 6 foot, and he looked like a fire hydrant, and was very funny, just like a very funny, gregarious dude. So he always came up with really funny phrases and sayings. Like one time he was doing a radio podcast with some other wrestlers, and they asked him what his dream match would be, who his dream opponent would be, and he's told the story before, so like his friends are laughing because they know where he's going with it, but he mentions that he'd want to wrestle Bill Goldberg. And if you know anything about Bill Goldberg, it's that while he was a phenomenal like character, he was not a great wrestler. And Big E basically went on this rant about how he doesn't care about 5-star matches. He doesn't care about work rate. That's not what he got into wrestling for. He got into wrestling to watch big meaty men slapping meat. And of course he struggled to get that out, and as soon as he said it, his friends lost their shit because the phrase "big meaty men slapping meat" is a very silly sentence. But that's just the kind of guy that Big E was. Big meaty men slapping meat. Speaking of meat, I think your chicken's a little underdone. And I don't think I'm happy I made that joke just now. Ugh. This thing looks gross in all the best ways. Yeah, what I think I'm actually going to do is I might take the airbrush and spray this just a little bit with some red paint, because it'll kind of fade out like the wounded soreness of the flesh, and it'll also help blend in these colors so we don't have such stratified layers. And I think that might be the play for getting this to be a little bit more like blended together. So let's hope that that works out. So let's get more of that yellow in there. More of that. Oh, yes. The "I'm about to kick someone's ass" song. Okay. Let's see what we got here. And what always tickles me about highlighting is just how deceptive it is to the eyes, because as I've mentioned before, like, art is just lying to your eyes, right? And these are not super clear, super really well done blends, but when you look at them, it reads. You know what I mean? It reads as big, open, gross, exposed parts of this dog's flank. And it's just like, I really hate how that looks. It looks really painful. And that's the point. But when you look at it closer, it's just blotches of paint that have been kind of put on in lesser and lesser areas next to each other. So it means I'm doing a good job. Okay, same here. Give a little bit of that. Just a little bit to make his tongue. There we go. Okay. And I mentioned this before, when it was just when Darkvolt earlier, but this is, you mentioned before, like, you know, you got to trust the process. I could decide to airbrush later, but you can definitely see how this is turning out now and how good this actually looks. So once again, thank you, Darkvolt, for encouraging and believing, and thank you for the suggestions, because this turned out freaking amazing. I've still got to do the rib cage, and like I said, I'm probably going to hit a lot of these spots with different colors to kind of blend it all in together. But right now, it's looking pretty darn incredible as far as I'm concerned. Before I get into some of the more heavy blending. Parts of him just look absolutely disgusting. And other parts of him just look really darn good. Gotta get that tongue. And all I'm gonna do with the tongue is paint it over with a little bit of this pink, which unfortunately is too wet, so this isn't going to read right, but that's fine. It's just a tongue. No, thank you, good sir. Giving me all the good ideas with the color theories and the techniques and the blah, 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 blah. We need to add more red. You can always have blood effects at the end. That is true. That is very true. Okay, so that's starting to look good. There we go. Now he looks appropriately threatening and deeply upsetting. Not quite the same colors that they got, not quite as dark, but that's fine. That can be remediated. Oh, actually, his eyes are yellow. I have ice yellow. I could just use yellow. So, I don't know if you guys have seen the shitpost, but someone made a YouTube about Dr. Robotnik and his cereals, and it gets stuck in my head every now and again because it is just so stupid, and it makes me incredibly happy, and I think about it a lot. It's just, you know, I figure I've got these cereals,
I have over 7,000 cereals. It took me 9 years to get all of these cereals. Yum yum cereals.
And again, it's just stupid, but it makes me laugh. Because Big John Baldry had an incredible voice that he put to incredibly good use as Robotnik, and hearing people just take it and turn it into the most ridiculous, unhinged shit makes me happy. And even though he passed away a while ago, I'm pretty sure he would enjoy people just taking his voice and making it say some silly, silly stuff. Given all of the silly things he got paid to say in the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. And I guess a bit of good fortune is that because I can't quite see what I'm doing, I accidentally made his eyes overflow a little with the red, and that actually works. If I decide I don't like it tomorrow, I can clean it up, but for right now, it actually kind of serves. Makes him look all undead and more threatening and whatnot. And again, this is a number 1. I'm pretty impressed with how good the number 1 is holding up. It has lost its point, and so I'm kind of working with like a flat shovel, but it's doing exactly what I need it to do. And I don't need to go a whole lot more than that, because it looks pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Okay. I think the next thing to do actually would be to hit those ribs. And give me a second. I can't actually see what color the ribs are because of this, so I'm going to grab another picture and I'm going to look at it. I'm going to zoom in myself. Oh, that's why that other dog's all... Darn, I actually did a pretty good job with these. Oh, well, that's a problem. None of these pictures do a very good job of showing the ribs, so I'm just going to have to make it up myself. And that's fine. Yeah, poor doggy's got cataracts. So what I'm going to do, actually, is I'm going to switch over to... Nothing. I'm not switching over to anything. I'm going to take some of this red, mix it with the dark blue, make a purple, and that's going to be the shade for the ribs. And then I'll work my way up from that, like, purple into more of a, a bone color. And so this is going to work out whether I want it to or not. A little more red than that. Fantastic. Okay, so one of the things that is kind of weird about this is his ribs just kind of fade into his skin. They aren't very clearly defined, which, I'll be honest, for a $150 model is a little upsetting. But you know what? I'll make it work. And so yeah, this is now the color of rib meat, I guess. And same thing over here. We're just gonna make all this work with this horrifying, like, ugly purple that I made out of a really bright red and a really not bright... Okay. And I don't think those are exposed ribs. I think those are actually kind of underneath. So this is gonna be the cutoff for those ribs. Yeah, I'd love some rib meat right now. I actually went to the grocery store over the weekend, and ribs were finally inexpensive, but it was on a weekend where we weren't going to have ribs, so, sad for me. But, especially now that the financial situation is getting better, my desire to eat ribs grows by the day. And so eventually I will get my rib meat. Rib meat. Rib meat. Ribs. Okay. There we go. And same thing over here. And I guess the other part that makes this good is if I decide to kind of make it transition into flesh, it still has that color, that base red that I can kind of expand out of. So, hooray. Because like I said, I'm not sure where the ribs end and where the skin begins again. But that's okay. That's actually going to look fine. Oh my god, these guys look pretty darn good, I think. Yeah, I love when happy, you know, it's that Bob Ross thing. Happy little accidents, right? Okay. A little bit up in there just to kind of be gross. Yeah, what honestly, here, give me a second. Especially since we're starting to wind down a little bit. Honestly, I think with the fall. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, thank God! Everything fell as nicely as it could. Nothing broke. I just got really scared for a second because it fell in the garbage bin. Okay. Everything's good. That was scary. I have limited desk space because I am a sloppy man. I just need to clean my basement. But so I had the Fallen Divinity resting in a combat patrol box tray crosswise over a waste bin, and as I went to go pick her up, she just slid right into the garbage bin. And I'll be honest, I was tickled because that means the Fallen Divinity fell. But this is what I've got for her so far, and this was all done with the airbrush to kind of get an idea with the shading. And I think by and large the shading turned out pretty good, and what I'm going to end up doing is going back over with a lighter shading, probably more of the purple, and really hit some of that skin, and then go back and do some more of the fleshy stuff like that huge flesh skirt behind her. I'm not sure. The wings are going to be a fun one, because the wings, I think I think I can hit those pretty handily. Those won't be very difficult. But yeah, I can't wait to paint this because it's an incredible looking model. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this because it's marble in the art, and I don't know if I'm skilled enough to do marble. I tried once and it turned out terrible. Though I guess this would be an excuse to try again, right? But yeah, this is an incredible model. I think it's a very cool one. I do have aspirations one day of completely hand painting a model like this, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think what's going to happen with this one in particular is I'm going to do everything I can with it, touch it up where I need to, and really try and hone in on the details, like on the face and the cloth around the face, on the wing, you know, all of the big important parts. Fun fact, and I'm actually really proud of this, the wing did not go on right. Like, very little of this model actually fit properly. There's an embedded part right here where the wing is, or the skirt is supposed to fit in there, and it just didn't, right? It did not fit. And I ended up breaking parts of the models trying to get it to fit. And because this had this is a heavy bit, and it had such very thin contact here, I ended up pinning it in. And I was not quite in alignment, so what I did was I used some UV resin, actually, like right in here, and you can't tell. It looks fantastic. I think I did pretty darn good. And right here, this part broke, but again, unless I point to it, it just looks like it's part of the model. So like, a lot of it just turned out okay because I'm good at what I do. Tried a white base coat that super thin paints a blank, a dark blue and yellowy orange lines. One of the things I've seen is using, like, not cheesecloth, but cheesecloth to kind of get a quick spray of marble, because hand painting marble seems insane to me. But I guess I just need to watch the right videos for it. But we didn't get to the Fallen Divinity herself, which is fine, because instead we got these. And I think they look absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to kind of go back over them with a little bit more red with the airbrush to kind of smooth out some of these lines. But in the meantime, we've got two little dogs. Borf, borf, borf. Borf, borf, borf. These aren't the sounds they'd make. I'm going to go back and touch up the teeth. And I'm probably going to go back and, like I said, do a very thin wash or a thin spray to kind of make the lines on it, the blue on it, look a little less. Actually, I don't even know anymore because I think that looks fantastic. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But either way, what I am going to do is stop playing with them because these are part of an expensive model. And I think I already know who we're going to raid, unless they're done with their stream. Because there was a streamer who, and I don't think she got her start by watching me, but I definitely remember her coming by a lot and watching. And now she's like a massive streamer that has a whole ton of followers. And I think it's so cool. So I'm going to see if we can head over there. I forgot you drew that emote. I forgot you drew that emote, Dark Volt. Oh, I forgot you drew that emote. I go over to my Internet Explorer, my window, for browsing the internet, and and that just shows up. Oh man, that's so good. It makes me so dang happy. Oh my goodness, I need to show this to QB. So the Mighty Yellows, and I was talking earlier about how much I love the new Terminator models for the Space Wolves, and I talked about like pressing my fingers together and being like, "It's for me." And Darkvolt apparently just went ahead and sketched this out and threw it at me, and oh man, that's so good. It makes me happy because he's so dopey looking. Okay, but yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go check to see if Lotus K is still streaming, and if they are, we're just gonna go ahead and hang out over there. Is there anyone else fun streaming? Oh wow, Spike is streaming. That'd be cool, but I don't think I want to bother them. Okay, so instead we're gonna go to Lotus K. So /raid Lotus K. Okay. As always, guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys being here and hanging out, and I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned a lot, because there was a lot of education in this video. And I hope to see you again next week, or possibly later on this week when I try and stream more Look Outside, if I can get to it. Thanks again, guys, and have a good rest of your evening. Goodbye!